Hi, I'm Wendy Carroll, no middle initial, and Jonathan is conducting an interview about my life so far. I was born August 25th, 1943 in Evanston, Illinois. We lived in Highland Park, but there was no hospital. My father was an architect. His parents were both Hungarian refugees. He came from a family of 5 children, all of whom graduated from college. He enlisted in the Army Air Corps and lied about his asthma. He was already a pilot. He was sent to Roswell, New Mexico, and my mother joined him there. And he always told me that I was conceived in Roswell, New Mexico. Aww. He did believe in UFOs, so I always wondered why he told me that. They were stationed there, and he was to fly gliders to Europe to hopefully end World War II. Just before they left, he had a huge asthma attack and was asked to leave the service, and then moved to Arizona to hopefully improve his health. My mother was one of 3 daughters. I don't know much about my grandfather, Maxwell Newman. He was born in Russia, but I don't think we figured out where. He deserted his wife and 3 daughters, and my grandmother's name was Daisy. Don't know too much about Daisy. She was married 3 times, the 3rd time to somebody with a lot of money. We came to Arizona in November of 1946. I remember Gail cried all the way, mainly because the cabins weren't pressurized and she was an infant. We ended up living in a hotel room on Van Buren for some time, and then got a house that was on stilts, if I can remember right, somewhere over on Fillmore, somewhere near the Greyhound track. Apparently they read Peter Pan and liked the name because of my dad's health. I have a lot of memories of that house, which is rather strange since I left that house when I was like 3 and a half. I remember the basement flooded and it scared me down there. And that I have seen the house 2 times since, and it's virtually the same. I remember grabbing my father's hand as we were moving, and I looked up and said, "You're not my father." It was his identical twin, Charles. And several years later, Charles and his family moved to Phoenix too, as well as an older bunny, Bernard. Brother. We finally got a house on Glendale and 14th Avenue, which was in the county there. Kind of carefree. I was 5, Gail was 3. We ran all over the street because it was a cul-de-sac at the end. And we had dogs, cocker spaniels. The people across the street from us had a television, which nobody had then. It was probably 1949. And every night that Hopalong Cassidy was on, they would ask the neighborhood kids to come over and watch it. And that was something special. Aww. I went to school, I guess it would have been kindergarten or first grade, when I lived in that house on Marywood Court, Washington. I went to. Then we moved into town on Glen Rosa and Fifth Avenue. My dad had built a subdivision called Paysetter Houses, and we lived in one of those houses. And I went to Osborne School. Well, we used to go to the beach in the summer, and we went to Disneyland the first year it opened. I think it was 1956, 55. And that was just what a kid would expect. It was all wonderful, just enchanted.
A family watching as a mother on a roller coaster, 14 stories high, falls to her death.
But we did a lot of things when we were in Phoenix. We'd go up with our extended family to South Mountain Park and rent ramadas and picnic. Must have been in the winter up there. We always had family dinners. The family was always together. My Uncle Chick and his wife Lois had 2 boys that were older than Gail and I. And my Aunt Eleanor and Uncle Bunny had an older daughter who I knew, and they were always included in family functions. And my cousin Betty and Sparky and Pat were the 3 children of my father's only sister. There were 4 boys and 1 girl. They were here in the wintertime. I just don't remember. The funniest one when I said, "You're not my father." Very intelligent, very caring, intelligent in every area, not just one. A good sister, although we used to fight a lot. My father at one point said he was going to take a paintbrush and paint a line down the middle of the room, and I could stay on one half and Gail could stay on another, because we were constantly fighting. And I don't remember what, but after she got married, we became very close, but not until, that's my recollection. God, there's so many. Being in her wedding, she being in mine. Aww. It was dear. Going to California, to the Beverly Hills, going to many movies, garage sales with friends. Always had a good time, and we'd check out Alyssa, who lived over there in California. Alyssa is Gail's daughter, my niece. Gail was born in 46, and my dad said if you invert those numbers, Alyssa was born in 64, so I always remembered it. Sports with girls weren't in my era, and I remember in grade school I did track and field, and I loved it, and I remember in high school I took archery. I don't remember there were any girls' teams. I would have liked to have played baseball or basketball. I just don't think that was open to girls.
But it's fair to say you are pretty athletic, as you were good at playing tennis, and you're obviously a very good bowler.
Yeah.
You have a better average than both of your sons. So.
Is that saying much?
I mean, as I recall, you had like a 160 plus average. That's pretty good.
That's because my family bowled. My mother and father and aunts and uncles, they all bowled. I must have had lessons. And I remember in college I had to take 4 semesters of sport, so I just took 4 semesters of bowling to get a good grade, and I like to bowl. Yes, when we lived on about 14th Avenue in Glendale, my mother had a maid, and one day the maid missed the bus. And some other Gail and I took the car and we drove down to South Phoenix where the maid lived. I can't remember her name, but I adored her. And as we were driving into this neighborhood, I was just overwhelmed with how, I didn't know the words, poverty, poor. And I love this woman and she lived there. And I think that's the first time I thought about, I didn't know the word social worker, but I wanted to help people. Probably a year, but he didn't ask me to marry him. He dumped me, said that I would want to get married, and left. And in the ensuing couple months, I started dating this friend who came from San Diego every weekend to take me out. His name was Jim, he played the guitar. And one day Dad walked in on a Saturday night and Jim was there and I was there and others. And he said, "Can I talk to you in the bedroom alone?" I said, "Sure." Went in the bedroom and he sat on the floor and said, "Claudia told me that I'm going to marry you and that if I do, I'll owe her $10. And I'm going to be paying her $10. Okay. In a bedroom at Orchard House. I was living there with Candy. No. I don't know how my mother felt. My dad liked him. Sense of humor. Got married on July 20th, 1968 at All Saints Episcopal Church on Central. We were supposed to get married a few months before then, but I had emergency surgery, so I had to postpone it. It was good. I didn't have dreams of everything being perfect. I remember that cake was just tier after tier high and it had daisies all over it. I like daisies and I carried daisies. Had nothing to do with my grandmother Daisy. My grandmother's name was Daisy. Don't know too much about Daisy. I think we avoided it. Well, it happened slowly. He took his time with me. He was just kind to me and just put up with me. He took his time with me. He was generous because I was sick. Yes? When he asked me, I thought about it, but I wasn't ready to get married. I wanted to work for longer. I don't think we ever knew. We just got pregnant with Andrew and thought, oh, well, this worked out all right. We were trying, but we told, you won't have children. And 4 years later, we got pregnant. I don't remember that we didn't like any names for boys when Andrew was born. We liked girls' names. We had girls' names picked. Alan wanted girls. I could have cared less. We both liked Andrew. I can't remember. He wanted his middle name to be Whitney because that was his middle name and his father's middle name. But when you came along, he didn't like one name I had picked out. And I left the hospital without filling out the paperwork, which proves you can leave the hospital without naming your baby. And 4 weeks after, I called him at work and I said, I'm going to fill out these papers if it's a name you don't like or not. So I just assumed it's a name we agree on. So somehow we agreed on Jonathan. Of course I disagreed. but he wanted to call you Fluke too, and I vetoed that also. They're unpredictable. No two are alike. I liked it, but I just didn't stay at home watching kids. I found volunteer work to do. I wrote the newsletter for the Cancer Society. I started a business making keychains and clipboards with people's names on them. Then I started really working to raise funds to build Ronald McDonald House. And then when it was built, I volunteered in the house. All the time I had children, but I wasn't working.
You were also part of the Lakes Club, weren't you?
Yeah.
And then you were part of a women's society, so to speak?
No, I was, they had a house club, which took in the runnings of all the grounds, the swimming pool, the tennis court, the remodeling, the workout room, and I was on that. And then we decided that the school that they had there wasn't up to par, and we redid that. And then I decided to run for the board. And I remember the question they asked me, don't you think one Carroll on the board is enough? And I said, no. But I wasn't going to be on the board with your dad. Your dad was going off and I was coming on. And then I was president of the board. Well, at this point, finding out you really like your kids, they turned out to be good people and I'm proud of you. I probably wouldn't have accepted it then. I just kind of went along with things happened and made the most and was happy and don't regret anything. A good movie and dinner. I don't think I had a favorite band. Together Again, Buck Owens. I like a lot of people today and I liked a lot of different people then. I liked Stevie Nicks, I liked Tina Turner, Dire Straits. Well, number one, I'd say A Year in Europe, that trip. And number two, the Danube and Rhine River cruise with your dad. I think it was when I was 5 and saw where our maid lived. I didn't like it, and I didn't know words like poverty but there it was, and my 5-year-old eyes were wide open, and she lived in some horrible place by my definition, and I wanted to make things better. Wow. Maybe they weren't hard choices. I can't think of one. I mean, illness, I chose to go on. Wasn't going to let it define me. When I was in the hospital with Crohn's disease, when nobody could figure out what was wrong with me, and I decided, they'd sent me to a psychiatrist, and I decided to have exploratory surgery. I was in the hospital and I hemorrhaged. And then I can remember, I knew what it was like to be a drug addict because they kept on giving me Demerol. And I also remember a couple days later being wheeled to the surgery floor and the nurse saying to me, "It's okay, dear, it's okay," because I was just sobbing. And I said, "You don't understand, I know it's going to be okay, but at least somebody's going to believe it's not my head." I enjoyed being on the architectural committee in Alsanos for 15 years. I did not want to be on the board. I enjoyed tennis immensely because it encompasses so many different aspects of your brain and your physical being. I'd have off the coast of Normandy in France. It was a place that I'd heard of when I was in high school, and I had the picture of it up on my wall. And then when I got there, it was just surreal. Canada, Mexico, Iceland, Belgium, Spain, Germany, Italy, Hungary, Austria, England, Ireland, Scotland, Portugal. Sounds real corny. My children. Second, my dogs. My children. See a stream down your face. Well, they aren't Freddy's meatballs.
No.
Libby chicken and Schreiber rice. And I enjoy cooking. I enjoy making cherry pie now because it's one of Jackson's favorite. Oh, Andrew too? Well,
Yeah.
there you are. Libby chicken is not a family recipe, nor is the cherry pie. I don't really have any family recipes.
Okay.
Except the Schreiber rice.
Well, X that question out.
Yeah. It's when I got stuck in Europe, someplace I always wanted to go all my life, and I was finally there, and my girlfriend left after 6 weeks. And I had to make the best of it or go home, and I was not going home. I wasn't the kind of girl that wanted a boyfriend or that wanted to get married with a big white dress. Or have children. I never thought about those things. They weren't, I just figured when they came along they were great, but they weren't things I tried to get. Most girls were thinking of weddings and children's, and I never did. I've had a very good life.
Well, I'd like to say thank you for doing this interview, and anyone watching this will surely appreciate it. Thank you, Mom.
You're welcome.